These are living cells from the human body, but they're cells with a difference. This specimen wasn't taken from a healthy body, and the cells under the microscope aren't healthy cells. They are, in fact, the basic units of man's greatest unconquered disease, cancer. Despite intensive research all over the world, surprisingly little is known about the root causes of cancer, and the search for a cure takes many directions. This party of American botanists, led by Dr. Robert Purdue, came to Kenya to gather samples of plants, which scientists hope will yield a chemical agent to inhibit the growth of cancer cells within the body. Over 1,000 varieties of plant are known to produce anti-cancer substances, and recent research at Princeton University in America has resulted in the discovery of a plant protein that arrests cancerous behavior in animal cells and apparently restores the cells to normal. Much of the world's research is aimed at developing new drugs to combat the disease. In London last month, the Imperial Cancer Research Fund announced the discovery of ICRF159, a drug that's achieved some remarkable effects in mice. Trials showed that mice injected with doses of 159 became more resistant to primary tumours. They're the first lumps to appear in most cancer cases. But more important, the drug also had the effect in animals of preventing secondary tumours. These are the tumours which in human beings spread the cancer through other parts of the body, and they're often fatal. We asked the drug's discoverer, Dr. Jurt Hellman, exactly what 159 did.
It causes regressions and inhibition of growth of experimental tumors, many experimental tumors, and it prevents the spread of some. In patients, in clinical trials, we've had some encouraging results in both solid tumors and acute leukemia.
Could you tell us something more about the clinical trials on patients?
These clinical trials are going on in a number of centers, and in acute leukemia we have obtained some quite useful partial remissions and even 1 or 2 complete remissions. In solid tumors we have seen 1 or 2 total regressions of tumors that were otherwise untreatable.
I take it that 159 hasn't yet been used on secondary tumours in humans.
Not in man. I must emphasize this. In man, we have not yet done a clinical trial to put this to the test. But in animals, we have obtained very effective inhibition of the spread of tumors so that we get no secondary tumors.
So the next stage is to try this on man?
Indeed, indeed. The next step is the clinical trial in man.
Do you think it's premature to talk of a breakthrough in a cancer cure?
Well, I wouldn't like to use the word breakthrough, but it is a useful advance, and it will add considerably to our knowledge and the possibilities of treating cancer.
Has this advance set you on the road, you think, towards the ultimate solution?
I wouldn't think the ultimate solution. I think that's putting it far too strongly. That will come from some other work.
So nonetheless, you must all here be feeling quite encouraged by these recent advances.
Yes, we do. We feel quite reasonably encouraged by these results, because they do open up for the first time other possibilities of treating cancer than those which have hitherto been employed. And I think everyone will agree that new methods of treatment of cancer are urgently required.
One of the newest and most controversial methods of treating cancer is carried on in this clinic at Ringberg in the Bavarian Alps. The clinic specializes in terminal cancer, advanced cases given up as hopeless by ordinary hospitals. Its director is Dr. Issels, who's made some pretty remarkable claims for his unconventional methods.
I don't believe that we have one cause for cancer, because we have much causes of which the resistance of the body will be destroyed. And
Dr. Issels says that 17% of the terminal cases he treats recover and survive for more than 5 years, compared with a world average of only 2 or 3%. His claims have caused a storm of controversy throughout the medical world. Issels' 150-bed clinic was built with money provided by a shipping magnate whom he cured. It has a staff of 12 doctors and 40 nurses and charges over £500 a month for treatment, although the doctor sometimes reduces the fees if patients can't pay. The doctor's been accused of being a charlatan, of building up patients' hopes for a miracle cure, and he's even been convicted of manslaughter and served a term in prison. But though the medical world has shunned Dr. Issels, his fame has spread widely among cancer sufferers. Even as long ago as the 1950s, he was a famous enough figure to be received in audience by Pope Pius XII. Considering their circumstances, the patients at Ringberg lead a tough life. The accent's on positive living. Patients are not allowed to sink into apathy. Their diet is strictly controlled. No meat is allowed, nor is tea, coffee or alcohol, and every patient must drink at least 4 pints of water a day. Part of the treatment involves the removal of all bad teeth and unnecessary parts of the body, such as the tonsils. This is in keeping with the Issels theory that the body must be cleansed in order to fight its own cancer.
We know now that the resistance of the body is able to kill cancer cells and also kill the tumor. But if the resistance is destroyed, then it cannot acknowledge cancer cells and cannot kill them.
So you stimulate the body to kill them itself?
And therefore the first thing in my therapy is to build up the resistance, that the body can kill himself cancer cells. And if I build up the resistance, I must take away all the wrong things which destroy the resistance.
That is why
the bad teeth, the tonsils, the denaturation of the coli, the bad food, the exogen like smoke and like that. And then the second one, I do with the patient all that measures, medicine measures, of which I know I can build up the resistance. I give oxygen, I give ozone, I give blood wash, I make fever, and all the things.
The fame of the Issels method was spread even further this year through an English television program on the Ringberg Clinic. The program aroused enormous interest and brought several English cancer sufferers to Ringberg. Among them was 22-year-old Lillian Board, one of the brightest stars of British athletics, silver medalist in the Mexico Olympics and double gold medalist in the European Games. She took this first-floor room at the clinic in November after it was confirmed she had cancer of the intestine. Lillian fought bravely, but at Christmas she lost the fight for her life. According to Dr. Issels' own figures, patients at Ringberg have 1 chance in 6 of being cured, even if they've been given up as incurable by their own doctor. But how certain is he that the patients he receives are, in fact, terminal cases?
If we get the patient here and the doctor sent me, or the hospital sent me the patient, and they say they must die, then I think that is a terminal state. And some of this which I have cured was not a progressing cancer, that was in moribund people. They have to live few days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, not more.
Now, couldn't your success be largely due to the fact that you take selected cases of cancer, that you pick your patients very carefully?
I don't select the patient. I take all the patients because after my experience, we didn't know by whom of this patient I can have success. Sometimes a patient, he looks good, we have no success. And sometimes it's very bad, in a very bad situation, and we have success.
So there is absolutely no doubt that these people were suffering from cancer?
There's no doubt, no.
What stage do you like to treat cancer? Do you only like to treat it in the terminal stages?
I would like to treat the patient in the first state, but we don't get it.
One patient who believes she got to Dr. Issels just in time is Flora McDonald, former Chief Nursing Officer in the British county of Hertfordshire. She came here after her own doctor had pronounced her cancer inoperable.
Well, I can't tell you the treatment. It's very intensive, and it requires a great deal of patience, and it certainly requires the cooperation of the patient. These doctors work on the whole body. We start the morning with scrubbing our limbs in cold water. We have to do most of the work ourselves. We have to have certain drops in all the water that we drink, and we have to drink a lot of water to flush through the system. We have all kinds of various oils which we have to rub into our bodies, and we have to keep really to a complete system, and the doctors are forever coming in and out. And when they find that you have pain in the part where you have the cancer, they're delighted. They know that it's working.
Now, as a former professional nurse, do you not feel that some forms of this treatment smack a little bit of quackery?
No, I don't. I don't. Even if they did, if it gives a patient confidence, that is the main thing, isn't it? The desire to get well, the desire to live. Not that I'm afraid of dying, I'm not. But at the same time, I may have some useful years ahead of me, and I shall certainly make use of them if I have.
What, in your opinion, is the most effective part of your treatment?
We have a basis therapy, and we have a therapy with which we attack the tumor. And both together work only. I cannot say that is important, that is less important. We must all do together. If we have a very good drug with which we can attack the tumor and kill the tumor, then the body must eliminate the toxin of the tumor. And only if it is possible that the body can eliminate these toxins, then I can help him. If the drug works too quickly, then it may be that we lost the patient by the intoxication. Therefore, if I give the answer to the last one, it will never be a drug alone to make an intern therapy against cancer. It must always be treatment of all the whole body.
Now, sometimes your treatment calls for the use of a vaccine, but what exactly is this vaccine?
If I have built up the resistance, that will say, now can begin the body to kill the cancer cells. And then I give every cancer, intern cancer therapy must be combined with a vaccine with which we stimulated the antibodies against cancer cells, because this vaccine is always made of protein of cancer.
Protein of cancer?
Protein of cancer, and it works as antigen, and of this antigen, because it is similar of a cancer cell, the body builds antibodies, and then he can attack his own tumor.
Dr. Issels sees himself as a practicing physician, not an academic one, and he's so far devoted little time to putting his ideas onto paper. Recently, however, he published in England a pamphlet describing some of his theories in clinical practice. British doctors weren't on the whole impressed, but in the light of the enormous public interest in the matter, they decided to send a team to Bavaria to investigate the clinic at first hand. One of the men responsible for the decision was Lord Rosenheim. Peter Fairley asked him what impression of Dr. Issels he'd got from the pamphlet.
It is difficult to be quite clear what sort of patient he has been treating, it is almost impossible to get from it any reasonable idea of the patients he's following up, what was the matter with them, and how long they had been ill before the treatment. We don't know what treatment they'd had before they went to his clinic. In fact, there is very little to go on.
Why then are you still sending a team out to Bavaria to investigate the claims?
Well, we had a long discussion at our committee, and we decided that a further retrospective study of the records wasn't going to provide any further information. We felt that if the team went out there, and from what they saw in a short stay, and from talking to Dr. Issels, seeing the treatment being carried out, they really felt that further statistics or further results should be examined. Then we felt that a prospective study, seeing 100 patients or 200 patients admitted and followed through, would give us much more information than any amount of study of the files.
How long do you think it will take you to reach some kind of definite conclusion about this man?
I would have thought it would be between 3 and 6 months before someone who went out there would know whether anything was happening to patients which the team hadn't seen happen in cancer clinics in this country.
In the meantime, what would you advise a sufferer from cancer in Britain, or the relatives of somebody suffering from cancer in Britain, to do about Dr. Issels and his clinic?
I would advise them to wait until the team comes back. We were very concerned that these patients who have got widespread cancer were having a multiplicity of treatments, none of which could be very comfortable, and we would rather feel that patients who had reached or were reaching the end of their life should be made comfortable, given drugs to deal with their pain, should be with their family, and should not be subjected to all these treatments about which there really is, in our mind, very little evidence of value.
An expert who remained unimpressed was Dr. Leiter, director of the Patterson Laboratory in Manchester, who will probably be one of the investigating team.
I'm afraid there are too many facts lacking for me to be impressed. He describes in a very superficial fashion the type of treatments he's been using, none of which in itself is fundamentally new. All forms of treatment I could gather from the paper, and I emphasize which I could gather from the paper because they're not precisely described, have been used elsewhere in the past.
Have they been used in this particular combination?
They have been used in many combinations. I don't think that in this particular combination, but again, the particular combination is not described precisely by Dr. Issels.
But equally, you can't condemn him out of hand.
No.
You feel you've got to go and find out more.
That's only fair to him.
Dr. Issels, why do you think the rest of the medical profession is jealous of your success?
The general opinion for all the other doctors who treated cancer, there's opinion that cancer is a local disease and they can only be treated by operation and radiation and chemotherapy. And then they cannot imagine that it's possible to cure a cancer patient also with other medicaments and drugs. But after our opinion, where the resistance is in the middle point of the therapy, this opinion have changed. And now we have a chance to help them. And with the old opinion of local diseases, there's no chance to help them. And therefore they will not believe it.
Are you finding more doctors willing to follow your techniques?
In the last 2 years, I think that there are more doctors who asked more what I do and what must be done for incurable patient. The doctors think, what can we do? And we must begin. We must begin to do something for the incurable patient, because 80% of all cancer patients are incurable.
Even by your methods?
No, they are incurable for operation and radiation. But you see, if you have a tumor, he cannot be operated, then the surgeon says that it is not operable and incurable for me, but not for the intern therapy. There are other laws, and we work in another kind. We attack the tumor over the blood. and must not cut it away. And we must not make a treatment with radiation. And if the tumor is not sensible by the rays of the radiation, then it cannot help. But I can attack the tumor of the blood, and that doesn't matter. Then I can help.
For cancer sufferers all over the world, the Issels method seems to offer a ray of hope where none existed before. Certainly there's something worth investigating at Ringberg, but medical opinion in general has yet to be convinced. In the meantime, many doctors feel that hopes may be raised in vain, and they're worried that Dr. Issels may be given the wrong kind of publicity. Perhaps the last word, then, should go to Professor Doll, a British medical statistician who studied the Issels case carefully. He spoke to Peter Fairley.
I think we should be clear about this, that we have not been presented any evidence which justifies a further visit to investigate. But we do know there is very great public concern over this in view of the publicity that's been given to it. And if there is one chance in 1,000, one chance in 100,000 that there might be something which we're missing, we owe it to the public to make sure that we don't miss it. But we can only say that from examination of the data that has been presented to us, we see no evidence whatsoever to encourage us to believe that any advance has been made.